in the tone.
All I got is missed calls.
Hey, welcome back. It's episode 141. That means 141. And this is the Missed Call Podcast. I'm Ryan Sartori. That's Colby Marcio. Colby, good to be back. We're at this point, we're just flying. We're soaring. We're almost a month back into friendship and podcasting.
This honeymoon phase is just wearing off quick fast.
Yeah, I hate you again. No.
I was about to say, I think I'm done.
Yeah. He's all the way out. We got a lot to get into.
The NFL season, Ryan.
Yeah. We have a lot to get into as the NFL season has the soft start has come to us. We've seen some football. We'll get to that, but we're also talking today Big Brain Book Club, Johnny Manziel, the documentary, the untold version that came out on Netflix. We'll talk about that. We have to talk about the situation unfolding with Michael Oher, the former All-Pro left tackle for the Baltimore Ravens, and the story it's come out about him today. We're talking Peyton Manning. We've got some Dwayne Wade stuff to get to. So a big episode. And let's start
everybody's cousin, Dwayne Wade.
Let's start off, Cub, with your favorite type of football, preseason football. You get really into this.
The Miss Band is so facetious it hurts. I let me just kick off the show with what's grinding my gears, Ryan.
Sure.
Let's just bust through the doors.
Shoot or shoot.
What is grinding my gears is I hate preseason football. I don't give a flying effaroo about preseason football. I don't want to gamble on it. I know all the degenerates and sickos. I mean, I'm a degenerate, but you have to be a sick animal to be like, oh, but there's so much value. I am not fucking doing research on fucking preseason football. But let me get into what's really grinding my gears. Ryan, was it the first week of preseason football? Yes, no?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I should not see from valid sources, valid quotation marks, because no one's a check mark anymore and you don't know who's who. I should not see from sources that are in the biz, oh my God, this team's going to suck. Because didn't the Lions go undefeated in the preseason and then carry on to lose every game following?
Well, don't forget about the modern day dynasty, the Baltimore Ravens.
I was getting to that.
24.
Who fucking cares?
It is kind of interesting that they've won.
If you put in a legit first team, they're not keeping this streak alive.
I think that it's still interesting that they've won 24 straight
It's cool
preseason games.
It's cool because I forget to gamble on it every single time.
But, I mean, it's kind of like the Undertaker staying undefeated at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? The Undertaker staying undefeated at WrestleMania was cool because the WWE was like, this is a storyline we're willing to keep up. So, they allowed it to keep happening. I mean, the same thing can be true for the Baltimore Ravens. A lot less scripted, depending on who you talk to in NFL.
Hey, did you get the script too? Because I think I heard they're going to lose soon.
They might. But no, preseason football, I think, is fun, marginally fun, right? Because you spend so long without it, and no, I mean, I do. I think that preseason football is marginally fun. When you get the opportunity to see the starters for a little bit in each game, I think that that's fun, right? Being a Bears fan and seeing Justin Fields throw to DJ Moore, regardless of how many air yards there were, is still cool to see in the month of August. Now, it's going to be a lot more cool when the game actually matters and you have a larger data set to go off of. But I also enjoy seeing some of like the rookies that you got in the draft that you're not going to see in every game. Again, as a Bears fan, seeing somebody who I've seen a lot of good stories about, Noah Sewell, the brother of Penei Sewell, who the linebacker out of Oregon. That's Noah, not Penei, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I got to see him play a lot on Saturday, which I thought was cool. I thought that was a fun thing because I think he might have an impact on the team in the future.
Cool little Easter egg for you.
Yeah.
He used to be somebody I used to follow to try to get on the show.
Really?
Yeah. Another thing, we would be pieces of shit if we didn't mention this. Nathan Rourke, I think that's how you say his last name. I need his jersey, and I don't care if he makes the team.
Is that the like third or fourth string guy for Jacksonville who made like a throw while being sacked?
Throw of everybody's life.
Of his life.
How did he get that off? That was a tougher throw than Eli Manning's in that Super Bowl against the Patriots, the first one.
Well, and even the throw,
42.
I don't remember the throw being too hard for
Tyree.
No. The throw, I don't remember the throw being hard for Eli. The catch was difficult because that's the helmet catch.
Well, he was about to get sacked, and everyone was holding, and you know all that.
So if you didn't see the play, this Rourke fellow, not any relation to Mickey, but like he was able to roll out and escape some would-be tacklers and came back through the pocket and was literally being tackled to the ground. Okay.
Oh, well,
yeah.
The ring light ruined it.
One of two things is about to happen. Either people are going to tune out or this entire episode is going to be striked on YouTube and it won't exist anymore.
That's fine.
I'm only playing, but it was a very cool play. Again, as a Bears fan, I would assume most of our listeners are Bears fans too. Velus Jones, the oldest man in the NFL, needs to be cut. But like, it's fun to have these moments to like hang your hat on and be like, this could be exciting. It adds to the hype of a season. But then you're right. You also have dodos and stooges who overhype situations. I can't tell you how many.
Sorry, I had to get it. I had to go away for a minute.
I can't tell you though how many people I've seen overreact to like, well, Justin Fields had 124 yards on 3 throws, but I mean, how many were air yards? And he threw it behind.
I think it was 7.
And he threw it behind DJ Moore. DJ Moore did all the work. And even still, that's fine because that's the point. You get guys around Justin so he doesn't have to do everything. And then you see that type of stuff play out in other markets as well. You know, any place with a doubted QB, you're going to see, you know, other talking heads, other, you know, sports talk stations overreact on certain things. How about we just have fun?
I mean, I'm glad the season's back. Fall's my favorite season.
We're not there yet.
Tell me what's better than this, Ryan. It is Saturday morning.
Should I close my eyes?
Close your eyes, man.
Okay.
Listeners, do the same. It's Saturday. It's roughly 9:45. You just made breakfast.
Ooh.
You got the window cracked.
What's for breakfast?
Shut the hell up. You got the window cracked. There's a cold breeze rolling in. You got shorts on because it's not that cold, but you got a hoodie on.
Yep.
And college game day is about to turn on, and you are gonna watch football for the next 48 hours.
It is a pretty substantial feeling. Like that is a pretty good time to be alive. Is, you know, watching all that, going into college game day, seeing all the games, and then knowing that the next day it's not over. Now you get to watch the professional circuit and Monday Night Football. And like, really, if you're invested in your community's local teams, you could watch. Hold on.
Tuesdays.
Not until you get until October. And trust me, I know because I work on those broadcasts. So it's a lot of fun to go. You know, you have, if you're invested in your high school sports in your community, you could go Thursday night football into Friday night lights, into Saturday, into Sunday, Monday night football, the MAC on Tuesdays, and then Wednesday is like your Sabbath. Your football Sabbath is Wednesday. So that's right around the corner. That is nearly upon us. And the only thing we have to do is get through another couple of awful weeks of the preseason. Did you watch the first episode of Hard Knocks?
I don't have HBO.
I do.
I just lost Hulu, so I'm gonna have to find a new streaming service. If anyone wants to split it with me,
I think. But just to claim it, I think Cub and I are going to split the Hulu service.
Yes.
But we're gonna hang our hat on that right now. Put a pin in it.
This podcast is doomed, so we might as well just not even do it.
Yeah, put a pin in it. We'll come back to it. But I did get a chance to watch it, and the entire thing was lip service to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I heard a lot of the Aaron Rodgers haters in the office just complain about how everyone's just Aaron Rodgers.
And listen, there's only so many angles that you can take to the show, right? So that's I was kind of like, I'm fine with this. I like being able to look inside the locker rooms. I like being able to see guys show off their personalities.
Yeah.
I do know that it's obviously, double checked by both the team and the league to ensure that it's fine before it actually goes out. But yes, it was a very big, like, here's Aaron Rodgers on his new team. Look how much everybody looks up to him and lauds him and loves him. They brought Liev Schreiber out. He's the narrator for Hard Knocks. They brought Liev Schreiber out to have like a one-on-one conversation with Aaron Rodgers because years ago he said that's the only way he'd do Hard Knocks is if he got to meet the voice of Hard Knocks.
You know what's probably keeping the Jets alive? Just thought of this. Sorry. Just thought of this.
Yeah.
You know what's probably a good thing for Aaron Rodgers doesn't talk to his family because Zach Wilson would steal his mom like that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
people forget.
The Cougar Hunter, right?
No.
The other big football story, it's actually two other big football stories that we're going to get into today. The first one we break down in a segment that we'll call the Big Brain Book Club, where we didn't actually read a book, but we did watch a documentary. So we're going to discuss it as though we were in a book club. Untold Johnny Manziel, the documentary that dropped on YouTube. Came out. We both watched it. We both had.
It was on Netflix.
Came out on Netflix. Jesus,
we dropped this on YouTube.
Yeah. Either way, came out. We both have thoughts. We both have opinions. Let's talk about it.
All right, I will take it from here.
Yeah.
As a documentary connoisseur, as a guy that wants to be
Would that just make you a documenteur?
As a guy that's lifelong dream is to create a documentary, be involved in a documentary, I, for the first 45 minutes, thought this documentary is awesome. Please give me more. You are hitting me. You are punching me in the face with nostalgia from my high school days of where I used to not like Johnny Manziel. And then you're giving me all the stuff that I remember he did, which was unreal.
Yeah.
And then it hits you how fast everything hit him in life, and how I don't remember him being in college football for like 2.5 years, it feels like, or from what I remember.
Yes. I didn't remember him leaving school as a sophomore.
Yeah,
I didn't remember that storyline. Again, like we were both in high school when the Johnny Manziel craze was happening. So like our in-depth knowledge of sports wasn't necessarily there. But I remember him taking over the sport. I remember the game against Alabama and, beating the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa. I remember those things. But I didn't remember him. I obviously remember him winning the Heisman as a freshman, but I didn't remember him leaving school that early.
Yeah. And then you got all the crazy stories, the lie that he's from oil money and he's rich when it was literally all his, the school benefiting every single thing he did since they joined the SEC and he first stepped on campus. And then, Ryan, they get into the juiciest part of the doc, which is his pro career and him falling apart in his attempts or his thought of committing suicide. We're all glad he didn't. He's still here with us. And then you have so many question marks right after, because then the documentary ends.
Yeah. Well, and that is I think a really great brief synopsis of what all they covered, and probably a proportionate ratio of time that you spent. Like there was a lot of sentences about the college career and him coming in. Yeah. A sentence or two about like him being in the pros, and then end.
I wasn't zooming through the second half of that documentary.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Documentary.
That's what I'm saying. I think you did you spent a proportionate amount of time explaining what happened, because I think maybe more interesting than what happened to him in college is what happened in the fallout of his career, and then the years after where he's still in the limelight. They did. They didn't tell us anything about like him coming back on the Cowboys or anything like that. And like, we didn't really get to see the complete story of Johnny football, because and then it ended, I thought, very much like a Sopranos, the end of the Sopranos, where it's just
worse.
Fade to black. Because you know that there's more. It's worse because there's more to the story that they didn't tell you. Yeah.
So he hit rock bottom. What did he do? The best way to the best way to describe this, if you have not watched this documentary, and I do not suggest you watch it at all because it's not really worth it. The best way to describe it is if you pull up the United States map and you look at the West Coast and you're like, okay, when somebody drew this, they're like, oh, I got so much room to put in 50 states. And then you get to the East Coast, like, up, we gotta hurry it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's, it's kind of like edging where you're like, this is going to be great. I can't wait to get there. And then you get there and you're like, never mind. And then you don't go back. And then you don't go back to finish the job. The biggest nuggets, I think, from the documentary, and the spoiler alert, a spoiler warning, if you haven't watched it and plan on it, this is where we're going to reveal the 3 big things that they tell you. Number one, I thought it was shocking that once he got to the pros, he spent 0 hours on his iPad doing film. 0 hours. That means that, I mean, like,
I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how he had a sliver of success.
Because there's just that natural football instinct and thing
Ryan,
in him.
But Ryan, you go out there and you call a play, you don't know what it is. Because if you're not studying the film, which is more fun than studying the playbook, you know neither.
Yeah. It's just shocking that, like, yeah, he wasn't just a bumbling idiot every step of the way, excuse me. But like,
ooh, it's gross.
That was a burp. Yeah, that was 100% fueled by rain. No free ads.
It is raining today.
Yeah. Well, homonym, different thing. The other big piece, and we mentioned this last week, was the mental health aspect, which I didn't love the way that they edited it in to the actual documentary, because it almost framed it as like a scapegoat for Johnny Manziel for all the things that he was doing. They like kind of tucked it in at the end of like, and his mental health too. And it made it feel it was like a scapegoat thing.
It was that. And then him going, I had nowhere else to go. So I went home, and then it ended. And then it fucking ended. I went home, and then his sister started talking, and she goes, he's still struggling, but he's in a better place. Boom, ends.
Yeah. I mean, there was a point where his dad was like, I didn't like who he was becoming. I didn't like him at all. How do you reconcile those things? I went further into the catalog of Untold just to see if maybe it was just bad storytelling or bad directing.
They're bad. They're terrible.
The Manti Te'o documentary is not that bad. And they took 2 episodes to get through that. So you could see the accumulation of like how we got there and the falling out after the situation occurred. I think similarly, you could have had the rise of Johnny Manziel and the fall of Johnny Manziel and stop right at the draft, and you would have had a perfect opportunity for 2 episodes that everybody would have consumed like that rapidly. They would have watched both episodes.
I think I told you this needed another half hour.
Yes. Yeah, definitely an extra 30 minutes.
Just a side note for the people listening, if you have yet to see the Dansbury Thrashers documentary that they did, that is their best one. They get it from start to finish. They get it done in an hour, just like they try to do with the Johnny one. And it is hands down their best one. I forgot they did the Manti Te'o, which people forget. That Heisman Trophy he won was the same year as Manti Te'o. And another nugget that Ryan and I were probably going to get to is when they told his friend, I forgot what his name is that he doesn't talk to anymore. He told the press that he comes from oil money, and nobody questioned anything. But Manti Te'o, his girlfriend's fake. They found that out real quick.
Yeah, and that therein lies some of those little issues that the NCAA consistently has. Is like, how come we didn't question the white dude having money, but we all blew up about this guy this Hawaiian dude who was very much catfished and taken advantage of. Speaking of his friend that was kind of, paralleling his story the entire time, and we eventually found out they don't talk anymore. I thought it was interesting to see just how rampant and also how easy it was for these people to get extra cash, for these stars in the NCAA to get extra cash. There was probably a very loose set of rules that Johnny and his accomplice kept, and that was enough to waft the stench of whatever bad thing they were doing away from them. You know, there was no way this guy wasn't making copious amounts of money on the side. They were sitting courtside. They were partying with Drake. They were getting bottle service. They were doing whatever they wanted. They were living like kings and taking flights and doing everything. Things that college football players with no deals and no extra money coming in shouldn't be able to do.
Hey, you know what my favorite part is? That friend said, he's like, we had a saying in Texas, win or lose, we booze. That fucking dude thought he invented that phrase.
Yeah, he tells everybody that. He tells everybody that.
Yo, that phrase, Johnny and I had made that.
So as a whole, the Johnny Manziel documentary wasn't my favorite. I thought that they didn't do a very complete job of telling his story. I again hate the fact that they just kind of made it seem like his mental health was a scapegoat at the end. And you know, some of the press leading up to it was all about Johnny's mental health and the how that quick rise to stardom at such a young age can lead to these very violent moments, either if it's just like self-destruction or actual destruction of physical surroundings. It's still violent. I think we saw, just as like a juxtaposition, Justin Bieber was very similar and self-destructive in that way. And so I thought we were going to get a lot of that. I thought we were going to dive deep into the psyche of what happens to an athlete like that. And instead, it really felt more like a chronicling of events that happened in his life with some other side things in there that made you raise your eyebrows, and then an abrupt end that really didn't make much sense.
I take back what I tweeted out. I think I gave it a 6.8. I'd give this a 4.3.
Yeah, if it sits with you for a little bit, I like it's probably much easier because then you're able to chew on it and say, okay, but I also still have this question. I also still have that question.
I had
Why did they do
so
it
many.
this way? Yeah.
It was like, okay, I barely learned anything. And then you want to skip from what, 2016 to now? Like that's what is 7 years? You're going to skip over 7 years, be like, oh, that's good enough.
Yeah. I think
he played in the fan control football league with our friend Big Joe, ready to go.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that, like we said, there's a bunch left on the table that they could have gone back and done, and they didn't, and that's upsetting. I think that another side that they explored briefly was like the way that the media criticized a 19-year-old and how much pressure that can have on him. And Skip Bayless was one of the first guys to watch this documentary.
Classic.
And completely missed the fucking point and went on Undisputed the next day and had this rant and eventually ended up with the line that said, Johnny Manziel looked up to me. No, he didn't. Like, missed the fucking mark.
Dude,
just he's over his head. Missed it.
Talk about a guy that's had a worse year and doesn't care. He lost his co-host. He tweeted out that thing about Damar Hamlin when he was unconscious on the field.
Yep.
And I mean, countless other things. Countless other things.
Cute. He just so cute.
He literally has no filter and nobody cares because it's Skip Bayless. Oh my God, he's going to get every single eye on this.
Yeah. Who cares? I've said on podcasts and in public before, like, I don't much have respect for that lane. I respect the fact that like they always find a way to come up with content. They always find a way to make it engaging. But like for the most part, it's just like screaming into a microphone incessantly, sometimes bringing up stuff that like makes no sense. And then like if you're Skip Bayless and like you're on TV enough and have enough of these reps and this large data set of things to pull from, you end up with a situation of, after watching a documentary about Johnny Manziel saying the fame almost killed him, your biggest takeaway was Johnny Manziel looked up to me. Get the fuck out of here.
It's, as someone who works in sports television, I just, for a lot of these things where people get triggered by, or like, how can they air this? I just want to be in the production meeting. Because was it him saying, hey, make this lower third for me that says Johnny Manziel looked up to me and I'm going to discuss my thoughts on this? Or it could be a producer. I don't know because I'm not there.
It could. And like,
because
that's
depending on the show, I'm assuming since he's so big, he's writing the content and the producer just has to kick their feet up, which some producers have that luxury, but I'm still sure that he has producers telling him, "Hey, we're going to discuss this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a weird business that we work in.
So watch it, don't watch it. Untold, Johnny Manziel, the documentary on Netflix.
Dansbury Thrashers.
And let us know what you think. You could leave your comments in the comment section, or you can give us a call. No, I don't know.
You can give us a call.
We're live. We're live on the phones right now. No. Another big story, and this broke today, is the Michael Oher story. I mean, everybody knows Michael Oher as The Blind Side.
The Blind Side.
The movie with Tim McGraw, Sandra Bullock. I think is it
you're forgetting the biggest piece. Coach O is in that movie.
Coach O is in that movie. So is Nick Saban, but I'm trying to remember the daughter is Lily Collins. Phil Collins' daughter. Anyway.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Cool. I'm going to see Phil Collins next month.
She's
no, Peter Gabriel. I'm sorry.
She's a Nepo baby.
A what?
A Nepo baby? A person born of nepotism. Famous because their parents are famous.
Oh. Kind of like me.
No, not at all. Not actually in the slightest.
Phil's famous. Phil is famous.
Yes. So the Michael Oher story, interesting for a lot of different reasons. Number one, the most interesting thing is that, wouldn't you believe it, white people are taking advantage of black people.
No way. Get out of here. Since when?
The story, obviously everybody's seen the movie. The story goes that the Toohey family adopted Michael Oher out of poverty and an awful situation and brought him into their home and let him go to high school. And you saw how close he got with the kids, and they go to college and they help him go to college. Turns out that the story is narrated in the perspective of the Toohey family, and Michael Oher never really had an input on the movie at all. He has now got a lawsuit going against the Toohey family because he has figured out now, years later, that he was never really adopted and has no rights as an adopted person by the Toohey family. Rather, they tricked him into signing a conservatorship, which essentially it takes away Michael Oher's legal rights to himself.
He's Britney Spears.
It is exactly a Britney Spears situation. Exactly. When everybody was saying free Britney, all that, they were trying to take Britney's father's rights away from her legal entity, so to speak.
Leave Michael alone.
Leave Michael alone.
Free Michael. Now, it is one of the wildest things I've read in a hot minute. I read it today at work, and I was just like in awe reading how much the family made prior to the movie and like with the royalty percentage they get with it. And then Michael got a big old Johnny Manziel amount of film as payment. He got zilch.
Yeah. So the movie made $300 million, and Michael Oher saw none of that money, which I like. The movie came out in 2014, and I'm surprised that
it was 09.
Either way, if it could have been 09, you could be very right. But whenever the movie came out, it came out. And I'm surprised that we didn't get the lawsuit around that time, because it wasn't until February of this year that Michael Oher came to knowledge that in the conservatorship, he does not have the legal right to make business deals in his name. The Toohey family lied and said, well, this is a conservatorship. When he signed this is a conservatorship. So more or less, there's only small discrepancies between us adopting you and you signing a conservatorship. They completely lied to him.
They tricked him. They sold him adoption when it was the complete opposite. And then he's 18 when they did this.
Right.
He's 18.
And that was their piece. Well, you're 18 years old. We can't adopt you, but we can conserve you. I don't know.
We can own everything you make.
Right.
We can own everything you make.
So the lawsuit alleges a lot of different things. But more or less the allegations is that the Toohey family is a bunch of garbage folk. who are, again, capitalizing off of the success of somebody's story. Now, you were explaining to me that this is a story that came out years ago. Michael Oher hates The Blind Side, not because he never made money off of it, not because he didn't make money off of it, but because of the way he was portrayed in the story.
Yeah, when I was finished, I think it's like in the middle or end of that article, talks about how he hates how he was portrayed as this dumb athlete, like a dumb jock, when he's not. He's someone who actually did. I think it said he did well in school.
Worse than a dumb jock. I mean, there's the dumb jock stereotype, and like that's fine because they're lovable. They didn't portray him necessarily as that. It was more or less a dumb black man, an uneducated black man that didn't know no better, and they portrayed him as like almost like a caricature. You think back to like the minstrels that they used to put on in back in the Jim Crow era. They portrayed him as one of those type of guys that they helped. They brought him in. They said, "You's gonna be one of us now." You know what I mean? Like, and made him in their image. And like, it's sad, and it's probably ethically wrong too when you think about like the white savior like mantra mentality of like, let us save you. We have the means to do it, and like celebrating that always feels weird. It's like if you're gonna do it, just
the movie is all about the mom. Like, she is the reason he's there, which is incorrect. She only put a roof under his head and helped him, I don't know, get to school. I don't know. I don't remember what it was said about the private school. I don't think, did they pay for that private school?
I don't know.
I think I don't remember what it said, but Michael said that because of that image he was portrayed in that movie, it has affected him making deals in the NFL because they think he lacks intelligence and leadership.
Yeah.
Which he claims is the complete opposite of what he is. He says, "I think my actions in the field and skill set speak for themselves."
The quote from the story that is up at ESPN.com from Michael A. Fletcher.
Great article, Michael. Fantastic article.
Oh, he did great work here. But it says, after the success of The Blind Side, however, suspicion slowly eclipsed Oher's trust of the Tuohys, his lawyer said. Mike's relationship with the Tuohy family started to decline when he discovered that he was portrayed in the movie as unintelligent. His last name is Stranch, if that pops up here as I'm reading it. Their relationship continued to deteriorate as he learned that he was the only member of the family not receiving royalty checks from the movie, and it was permanently fractured when he realized he wasn't adopted and a part of the family. For years, Oher was chafed by how The Blind Side depicted him, saying it hurt his football career and clouded how people view him. He has said that based on the film, some NFL decision makers assumed he was mentally slow or lacked leadership skills. People look at me and they say, people look at me and they take things away from me because of the movie, Oher told ESPN in 2015. They don't really see the skills or the type of player that I am. So yeah, I mean, this is very damaging. Not only can he sue the Tuohy family for all of the money that should be owed to him, he can sue them for like damages to his reputation. This is a huge story.
They're FUCKED.
Now that Michael finally figured it out, yeah. I mean, all of the monies that came from the movie, you talk about the $300 million, and the Tuohy family said that they split it 5 ways. I don't know where the 5th way came from, but obviously the 2 parents got their collective half, so to speak.
2 kids.
And the 2 kids got 2.5% of the net proceeds of the movie. That's a lot of money.
A lot of money. You said 300 mil?
$300 million. And jumping in front of it immediately today, SJ Tuohy, the little kid.
Yeah. He went on Barstool today.
He's been on the circuit today with Barstool saying we didn't know any better. Well, and it's not our fault.
$6 million.
Yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't be my fault either if I stumbled into $6 million based off of the success of somebody else. So a very interesting situation, one that we'll continue to monitor. And again, to loop back to it, I think most troubling thing about it obviously is that somebody was willing to take advantage of another person, right? Like completely taking all other qualifiers out of the situation. Anytime somebody feels that they have the right to take advantage of another person, it is wrong. It makes it more wrong when somebody of a higher stature tries to take advantage of somebody with a lower stature. What'd you just do?
I thought that would look better. Does it?
It makes it even more wrong when somebody of a higher stature tries to take advantage of somebody from a lower stature. It makes it even worse when the person of a higher stature is of white heritage and the person of lower status is of black heritage. So it just continues to kind of snowball. It's very frustrating, and it's also not surprising.
No, I'm not surprised. It's
No.
just, I just feel bad that the movie affected his NFL career. I mean, obviously, I feel bad for the other one, but the fact the movie started it all. I mean, actually, it technically didn't, but I don't know where I'm going with this because it sounds bad when I say it out loud.
I think Cub has reached his maximum capacity on the Michael Oher story.
No, I mean, I'm just saying because he got himself there to the NFL, and then this movie comes out about his inspiring story that everybody loved, and then it ruins what makes the story great of him getting there. It's ruined because they made him seem dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
and he was awesome in the NFL.
He was. I mean, he's an All-Pro. He was a Pro Bowler. I mean, so again, it's a very troubling situation. I think best probably at this point to move on, and as we get more details, we'll come back to this and cover it some more. There are some lighthearted things that happened in sports this week as well, and one of them that I'd like to bring up right now is Dwayne Wade, everybody's favorite cousin. Is that
everybody's cousin?
Everybody's
favorite cousin.
Dwayne Wade was inducted into basketball's Hall of Fame, and his speech was one that moved many. And I think a lot of times what happens with Hall of Fame speeches is you have athletes who their entire careers, they've been trained to speak a certain way, right? There's PR people in their ears all the time saying, you could say whatever you want, just don't say anything at all, right? That's how you get, me and my team, we really battled. And at the end of the day, I got my guys' backs and we're out here all with one goal. We're trying to win. And like they answer a question by saying nothing at all. Dwayne Wade is any athlete, right? Like, and typically that's what you get in a Hall of Fame speech too, is just a bunch of thank yous and my career and another thank you. And like Dwayne Wade is a very well-spoken man.
Yeah.
And throughout the course of his speech, he really did a great job, number one, of tipping his cap to one of his personal heroes, Allen Iverson, and saying how big it was that he changed the culture for NBA players and the history of the NBA, and saying it was okay to wear baggy pants and cornrows and get tattoos. And at the end of the day, he set a precedent for people moving forward that who you are in the past does not make you who you are in the future. If you've ever watched the Allen Iverson documentary, you know that guy went through some really troubling times as a kid and a young adult and became a very good man by the time that he was in the NBA and became the superstar that he was. The other part of this, Cub, I think both you and I can really identify with this, is that he honored his dad in a very significant way.
Yes, carry on.
So I'm just making sure you're heard.
I'm here.
Looks at his dad, who you've said is a very handsome man. You said multiple times, actually.
Come on, time out. We're not going to sit here, Brian, and not say that guy is a stone cold fox. What is he? 52?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Hey,
I've never thought of Dwayne Wade's dad in the way that you are thinking about
that
Dwayne
is a good-looking man.
Sure. I didn't look at him. I was watching the video of a son pouring his heart out to.
Well, time out. Look, Google his dad right now.
Okay. This episode is my favorite.
He's gonna sit here and act like he's not a good-looking dude. We're all guys here, just guys being dudes.
Yes, a very good-looking dude. He looks like a different version of Dwayne Wade.
Now, look up how old he is because I'm very curious.
Dwayne Wade dad age. He is 66 years old.
That is a good-looking 66-year-old.
He is 66 years old.
Good for him. Good for him.
But in this speech, he directly addressed his dad and, talked about how he always hated being called Little Dwayne, but he got it. And his dad would drive him to the practices and the tournaments and showed him how to put in the hard work. And it was an awesome tip of the cap. And at the very end, he said, Dad, I would very much appreciate if you got your crickety old knees up here one more time and accompanied me on stage as we get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Talked about how much it meant to him to share the same name, to share the same values, and talked about how important it was to have a father figure in his life growing up, the way that his dad was there for them. So Dwayne Wade did a much better job explaining how he felt about his dad than I am right now, but it was still probably the best thing that I saw this week.
Yeah, I mean, as someone that was a son of someone who was a pretty fantastic athlete, it kind of sucks sometimes. I'll tell you right now. If you need me to tell you, I'll tell the story.
I was going to say, did Phil ever let you win? Was your dad somebody who would let you win?
I don't know how to explain. I don't know, because my dad and I never played, we never did basketball in the backyard because he's not a basketball guy. So winning would be if I pinned him on my own, wrestling wise.
Sure.
Which I don't think I could do that today because the human pretzel that my father is, I think he's still got some in the tank.
Okay.
Now, my father was a running back in the day in high school. He averaged around 12 yards per carry. He was recruited by Stanford, and he would share snaps. So he would split series with another running back that my dad refers to as someone who is not good, because the coach didn't like him for some reason. And
that guy's name was Mike Allstott. Yeah.
No, my dad's way older than Mike Allstott. And if my dad's personality is still the same as it was in high school, which that's kind of hard to say because it's high school. If it's a sliver of it, I would assume my dad is a pretty stand-up guy, even back at 17 years old. And then when I went to the same high school as my dad, guess who's still coaching there? Pretty much everybody who knows my dad. And then there was one practice where I got yelled at. They're like, who's on defense special teams prep, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't on that. So I'm standing on the sidelines, and I don't go. And someone goes, Marshall, how come you're not getting out there? And I'm like, because I'm not in there. They're like, how come you can't be like your dad? And then, I got choked up, Ryan. I was like, I don't want to be like my dad. Because I'm not my dad.
Yeah.
And then all the other upperclassmen would come up to me later and be like, hey, Marcio, how come you can't be like your dad?
You're like, shut up, guys.
I was like, shut up.
Yeah. No, my dad was never a let you win dad. He would.
I mean, how can they?
If
you think of it, how can
you shouldn't let your kids win. If they're little bitties, yes. But once they're able to hold their own, you should not let your kids win. That's just a personal belief of mine.
If they can spit out a sentence, no shot. Swat that ball.
But basketball, my dad liked playing basketball. He would get physical in basketball. I wrestled as a kid. My dad would always kick the dog shit out of me in wrestling. Slap boxing, you slap box with your dad. He'd come over the top and get you on the back of the head, and you're like, what the hell?
Now, Ryan, one time when I was just starting out in football, and I was asking my dad for help, how do I run through somebody or whatever?
How do I football?
Yeah. I shit you not. I put on my full pads in the backyard. My dad puts on his high school football helmet and says, run through me.
That's the only way
this is gridiron gang, but my dad's backyard.
That's the only way your dad could think to teach you how to run through somebody.
He said, run through me. And this man tackled the shit out of me. And then I think he had me tackle him then.
All these things, though, are the things that make us better at the end of the day, right? It's these little things that we'll always recall. But the reason we recall them is because for some reason they stuck with us and they made us They made us better, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a culmination of all those things for Dwayne Wade. When he got on the stage, he was able to, have the time to think back through his career, think back through his childhood and all the steps it took to get where he's at. And accredited a lot of it to his dad, to his parents, right? But to his dad, who said, "Get up on this stage. We did it. We did it together." Did you ever have the situation with your dad where you hurt him? Hurt, yeah. Where you hurt him?
They can't do that with Phil.
So I used to always want to be a pitcher as a kid, and the guy I looked up to most was Kerry Wood, who, if you don't know, early in his career was a fireballer. And so I wanted to throw a fastball just like Kerry Wood. My dad had a glove
from 1973,
from the 1970s that had no more padding on the hand. And so if he caught one off the knuckles, he would end the practice. That'd be the end of it. He would throw the ball back at me about as hard as I threw it at him. I would duck out of the way. And
now you say that, you say that, and then it initially brings up a story. We were going to breakfast one day. This had to be 15 years ago. We'd be going to breakfast, and I think I gave my dad a titty twister, which not smart.
Don't give your dad a titty twister.
Because I'm terrified. At this time, I'm terrified of my father.
How old are you?
I could be 11. I could be 10.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's prime ass kicking age.
So he had flip flops on. He goes to kick me in the ass, and he hits the back of my shoe, I think, and he breaks his toe.
Oh.
So he sits so we still have breakfast. He's sitting there uncomfortable with a broken toe.
And motherfucking you the whole time.
Him.
These pancakes are delicious.
He never
tried the orange juice yet.
He never got it checked out. He goes, I think it's still broke to this day.
That's bad shit right there.
You know how dads are. They feel pain, but they don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Let me tell the listeners if they don't know who my dad is, and if they think I'm over exaggerating with how athletic he is, this is my favorite story of my father. So I'm 14. This is where I'm starting to work out, because you got to build muscle when you're 14. We go to this circuit class, which is the worst workout for a 14-year-old, because you're that's conditioning and lifting at the same time. That's literally hell.
Yes.
So before the class started, there were guys outside, probably in college, seniors in high school, doing 40-yard dashes. My dad goes, I'm going to do that. They're getting clocked. My dad goes, I'm going to go do that. I'll be right back.
No warm up?
Does not warm up. The guys that are about to race go, don't you want to warm up? And my dad goes,
nope.
No. My dad proceeds to run a 4.5 and beats everybody and pulls his hamstring. And then, Ryan, shit you not, still works out.
What was the fastest 40 time you were ever clocked at in high school?
Now, I was thicker in high school, so the fastest I was clocked post losing all that weight was a 4.6, 4.7.
I was never taught how to run. There's a lot of things athletically I was never taught to do. I never learned really how to throw a baseball. I can throw a baseball, but mechanically, I never was really properly trained on how to throw anything, a baseball, a football, whatever.
Clearly, because you kept breaking your dad's knuckles.
Dude, my elbow today, I'm 26 years old. My elbow is shot. There's just so many things wrong with the way that I've thrown over the years. Where was I going?
You don't want to run.
I was never.
I've seen that photo of you where you posted real speed, bitch.
Yeah. I was never trained how to run either, right? It is a lot of arms. It's a lot of head, bobbing. But in high school, I took a class that required you to go through combine type stuff where you track your vertical at the beginning of the semester and then do it again at the end of the semester. I think it was called athletic training. Mm-hmm. And I remember I missed the day where we tracked our 40s at the start of the semester, but I was there at the end of the semester. and my big ass ran a 7.5.
Ryan, when I was fat, I ran a 5.
Listen, I've got some other physical ailments that hold me back.
Ryan, never tell this to anybody else. Just say, hey, I had cancer at the time.
I just broadcast it to anybody who listens. You know what I mean? And so then when people are like, "Oh, did you play football in high school?" I say, "Yes." And now I broadcast football. Like
going back on that story with my dad running the 40, that's his favorite story, I think, too, because he gets excited whenever like we remember it, or he's the last person that will humble brag about anything. If I told him that I talked about this story in the podcast, he looked like Larry the Lobster. He'd be so embarrassed.
I remember, did we do an episode with your dad?
Yes, we did an interview with my dad on Father's Day.
I remember the thing that he told me afterwards is like, "You do a good job of making people feel comfortable." Thank you for making me feel comfortable.
And it made your whole day.
It did. Honestly, look, it's a core memory. I still hang on to this thing that Phil Marcio told me one time. I was like, this is a huge thing for me.
There's something about him that he's not witty, but sometimes he says something that sounds so good. You're like, God damn, that hit.
Your dad is a very endearing person. He's it seems a very sincere person.
Yeah, he's straightforward.
I don't know that he always knows the way that he wants to say something. I'm only guessing. And then when things come out, you're like, thank you.
So when we came back from Seattle, obviously they flew back to Chicago with me, but then they had another flight, so I had to say goodbye to them at the All-Star game. Then I had to say goodbye to them at the airport. And I was like, I'm not sad that I'm leaving them. I'm like, I just saw him for 10 days. I'm like, that's fine. I give him a hug goodbye. My dad goes, "It always goes by so fast, doesn't it?" And then I turned around and I was crying in the airport. I was doing one of these. Sorry if you're listening. I was going.
Oh, like trying to adjust the jaw.
I was like, I can't let other people in this airport know I was fucking crying.
Or like the open your eyes real wide and like hold the outside of your nose next to your tear ducts. You're just like,
dude, I'm like, I was fine 5 minutes before this hug, and then you just had to say that. Not me. I love you guys.
Yeah, but those are important tears, right? Those are important tears.
Yeah. What a wild freaking I don't know what I'm looking for. Wild route we took the end of this podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, but to bring it back full circle, right? To Dwayne Wade in his Hall of Fame speech, like, again, he summed it all up in 3 minutes. All these fond memories, all of these like affections that we have for our fathers, all of us, right? Not just you and me, but anybody listening. He got to sum it up on the Hall of Fame stage with his dad. Like, what a moment!
We're in it together, yeah.
And he got up on the stage. He's like, "Man, we in the Hall of Fame," and they shared such a significant and unique emotional moment like that. It's just very cool. Now, I did want to add on, if we ever had my dad on this podcast, and we won't, my dad. And I love him dearly. I love him so much.
He's just one of those dads. He's just one of those dads.
Is 50% Polish, 25% German, and 25% Italian.
Uh-huh.
But in his head,
200% Italian.
He is all the way Italian, dude. It's so fucking nuts.
That's the thing. It's like you got to commit to one, and it's usually,
I'll give you my best dad impersonation coming up in a sec. But like, he has always said, it doesn't matter what heritage your mother is, only what your dad is. That's
unless
what you
you're
are.
Jewish. Unless you're Jewish.
I don't know what that means.
Because if your mom's Jewish, you're 100%.
Oh, is that true?
That's how it is. So if your dad's Jewish, you're half.
How does that?
It's weird. It's weird. It does. I took Jewish classes in college. I thought it was interesting.
Okay. Hey, don't let me be the one to tell you it's wrong, because I have no fucking idea. But so to my dad, he's only what his dad is, which would still make him half Italian, half German. So he just throws that other half out and says, I'm Italian. So if he were to get on this podcast, he'd be like, Colby, how you doing? How you doing, bud? It's good.
Is he a use? Is he a
he's
use
not
guy?
a use guy. He's not a use guy. He's not a Chicago Italian.
I love use.
Colby, how you doing, man? How you doing? It's good to see you. Good to see you. So,
good,
so what's this podcast stuff, huh? What are we gonna fucking do? What are we fucking talking about, huh? And it's like, if you have a conversation with him, just one-on-one, how are you? It's good to see you, man. How you doing? It's like, where does the fucking accent come from? It's so funny.
My favorite thing was one time. This was one of the times we went to Western Kentucky. You called your dad post radios, whatever you had to do.
Okay.
And you called him. And he's like, "Yeah, great stuff. That one dude fucking sucks." Like, get him off the air. What's his problem? He just sits there.
Yeah. My favorite, and then I think we should probably just wrap up because at this point we're just rambling. But we covered some very important things. Yeah, we covered some very, very important things. My favorite story about my dad. He's not very tech savvy. And he does need help remembering things sometimes. Like the things that are important to him really stick. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. Like throw it away. We were getting ready to go on a family vacation to Mexico. And he had rented a big boat. And he was like telling us about the vacation. And he was like, yeah, I got us one of those big boats. I rented us a big, one of the big boats. Ryan, what? Name a big boat. What's the name of the boats? I was like, I said, a yacht? He was like, no, not a yacht. I'm like,
tugboat.
I was just naming boats. I was just trying a sailboat. What'd you get?
Pontoon.
No. And he was like, no, it's none of them boats. And then I was with my brother. We started having a side conversation and we're in public. And he out loud goes, Siri, boats. He goes, Siri, boats. And I'm cackling that's the way that he thought to like find what kind of boat. And I shit you not, this motherfucker figured out what he was talking about. He's like, Ryan, it's a catamaran. A catamaran, that's the boat. I got us a big ass catamaran. I'm like, fucking good, Dad. I'm happy you got us a catamaran. It was the funniest thing ever. To this day, it's something that as a family, we're all just like, hey, boats. Anyway, that's my favorite dad story that I have. I'm sure I could dig up others, but I don't want to unearth all my family secrets on this podcast quite yet. I'm curious if you have anything else to say.
Who's your favorite Cub of the Week?
Oh, Cub of the Week. Mike Tachman. The Sockman.
I'm wearing blue underwear.
I think the last time you asked me favorite Cub of the Week,
you said Mike Tachman.
Jamer Candelario.
And I'm wearing blue underwear. It was nice seeing you guys.
All right. Peace out.